President will speak on the stage, then the president, and we'll be looking to see if the president is taking any actions today to move forward on some of those efforts he can do unilaterally to affect gun safety, executive actions. The president will be flanked by children who wrote him after the Newtown shootings about gun violence, among them 3 kids whose letters they've sent to us to show us ages 10 through 11 who asked him to stop some of the gun violence, clearly using the children of the nation in their effort to lobby for gun safety. We've gone through some of those measures that the president has emphasized that we know will come out today. Chief among them, tightening the current laws for background checks and stepping up regulations to universalize background checks. Also expanding the limits on gun magazines so that you cannot buy magazines with more than 10 bullets. But one of the things we've consistently heard is many Democrats downplaying any kind of push for the assault weapons ban. We expect the president will call for it. But in terms of action beyond that, I'm not hearing a lot of emphasis on pushing that one forward. Finally, Wolf, I will tell you that in this audience, we are here with members of the cabinet and a number of families of victims will be here, but also a number of activist groups. A member of MoveOn.org is behind me. They're organizing 200 actions around the country on Thursday to help mobilize efforts to support the president's attempts to improve the gun safety laws in this nation, Wolf.
Stand by, Jessica. Dana Bash is up on Capitol Hill. Dana, I suspect this legislation that the president will send to Congress, there could be a huge battle. There's no guarantee he will succeed.
No guarantee at all, and I think that the odds are pretty low on him getting, at this point, him getting any of this through. Not entirely unlikely, but low. And it's interesting because so much of what we have seen with the battles over the fiscal cliff and everything have been really along party lines. That's not the case here. The big thing that we're watching are the president's fellow Democrats in the Senate. They're the ones, many of them, that he is going to have to convince to get anything through, because a number of them are up for re-election in next year, actually, and they're from red states where gun owners and gun rights are very strong, and so they're going to be very reluctant to support anything. I'm hearing from Democratic leadership sources, as Jessica was just alluding to, the most likely piece of legislation to get through will be something relating to background checks. That's the most likely because it is in the words of one source, probably the least offensive to gun rights owners, and probably the best way to appeal to many gun rights advocates who say that you do need to focus on mental health. You do need to focus on criminals, making sure that they don't get guns. But even that is going to be very difficult, and it is going to require a lot of communication by the White House with fellow Democrats, particularly in the Senate. Never mind the House. They're not even going to touch anything unless the Senate does it first, the Democratic-run Senate.
Getting ready for another big fight up on Capitol Hill. The National Rifle Association, the gun lobby, is called, put out an ad, a very controversial ad, just a little while ago. I'll play a little clip for you.
Are the president's kids more important than yours? Then why is he skeptical about putting armed security in our schools when his kids are protected by armed guards at their school?
The White House Press Secretary Jay Carney just issued this statement. Most Americans agree that a president's children should not be used as pawns in a political fight, but to go so far as to make the safety of the president's children the subject of an attack ad is repugnant and cowardly. Gloria Borger is here. Gloria, this is a very outrageous ad as someone who's covered the White House and a lot of presidential children over the years.
Republicans and Democrats. It's unseemly. It's in your face, and it's kind of a classic move by the NRA, playing this game, being a small buy on a cable network, and then knowing we're going to talk about it. But what this is about is rallying their base, their own anti-regulation base, because they know what's happening now. And you look at the polls, the numbers are going up for some kind of gun control. What they want to do is make sure that their intense supporters stay with them and multiply.
Here come the kids. These are children who wrote letters to the president urging him to deal with the issue of guns. John King is here. The president will have them as a background. Biden will speak, then the president will speak, and then the president will sign a whole bunch of executive orders, stuff he can do without congressional authorization.
Stricter enforcement of existing laws, some studies on gun safety, but those children, Wolf, and the people outside Washington are critical because, as you hear everybody here saying, including the Democratic leader of the Senate, this is a Democratic president who wants to make this a second-term priority. The Senate Majority Leader says we should be, quote, very cautious when it comes to new gun control. So Harry Reid is part of the president's problem here. But there's a change underway in the Democratic Party. The question is how big. After 2000, when Al Gore lost, they blamed losing Tennessee, West Virginia, and other places on his support of gun control. Now, some of that was exaggerated, but that's what they thought. And you saw Democrats become very timid on the gun issue after that. Now look at the 2016 lineup. Vice President Joe Biden, Governor Andrew Cuomo, Governor Martin O'Malley, New York and Maryland, those two governors. Three people looking very hard at the 2016 race on the Democratic side in the forefront on gun control. We'll see how big of a shift it is.
The Vice President will speak first.
Please be seated. Thank you. Before I begin today, let me say to the families of the innocents who were murdered 33 days ago, our heart goes out to you. And you show incredible courage being here. And the President and I are going to do everything in our power to honor the memory of your children and your wives with the work we take up here today. It's been 33 days since the nation's heart was broken by the horrific, senseless violence that took place at Sandy Hook Elementary School. 20 beautiful first graders gunned down in a place that's supposed to be their second sanctuary. Six members of the staff killed trying to save those children. It's literally been hard for the nation to comprehend, hard for the nation to fathom. And I know for the families who are here, time is not measured in days, but it's measured in minutes, in seconds, since you received that news. Another minute without your daughter. Another minute without your son. Another minute without your wife. Another minute without your mom. I want to personally thank Chris and Lynn McDonald, who lost a beautiful daughter, Grace, and the other parents who I had the chance to speak to for their suggestions and for, again, just for the courage of all of you to be here today. I admire the grace and the resolve that you all are showing. And I must say, I've been deeply affected by your faith as well. And the President and I are going to do everything to try to match the resolve you've demonstrated. No one can know for certain if this senseless act could have been prevented. But we all know we have a moral obligation to do everything in our power to diminish the prospect that something like this could happen again. As the President knows, I've worked in this field a long time in the United States Senate, having chaired a committee that had jurisdiction over these issues of guns and crime, and having drafted the first gun violence legislation, the last gun violence legislation, I should say. And I have no illusions about what we're up against or how hard the task is in front of us, but I also have never seen the nation's conscience so shaken by what happened at Sandy Hook. The world has changed, and it's demanding action. It's in this context that the President asked me to put together, along with Cabinet members, a set of recommendations about how we should proceed to meet that moral obligation we have. And toward that end, the Cabinet members and I sat down with 229 groups, not just individuals, representing groups, 229 groups, from law enforcement agencies to public health officials to gun officials to gun advocacy groups to sportsmen and hunters and religious leaders. And I've spoken with members of Congress on both sides of the aisle, had extensive conversation with mayors and governors and county officials. And the recommendations we provided to the President on Monday call for executive actions he could sign, legislation he could call for, and long-term research that should be undertaken. They're based on the emerging consensus we heard from all the groups with whom we spoke, including some of you who were the victims of this god-awful occurrence. ways to keep guns out of the wrong hands, as well as ways to take comprehensive action to prevent violence in the first place. We should do as much as we can, as quickly as we can, and we cannot let the perfect be the enemy of the good. So some of what you will hear from the President will happen immediately. Some will take some time. But we have begun, and we are starting here today, and we're resolved to continue this fight. During the meetings that we held, we met with a young man who's here today. I think Colin Goddard is here. Where are you, Colin? Colin was one of the survivors of the Virginia Tech massacre. He was in the classroom. He calls himself one of the lucky seven. And he'll tell you he was shot 4 times on that day, and he has 3 bullets that are still inside him. And when I asked Colin about what he thought we should be doing, he said, I'm not here because of what happened to me. I'm here because of what happened to me keeps happening to other people. And we have to do something about it.